He should have told Jake Paul, listen, we need to fight, but let's do bare knuckle. As a person who understands combat sports, this guy's very skilled. He's very skilled. He's a real professional caliber boxer.
From the moment this fight was even rumored, fans went crazy. Could this happen? And if it did, would it be a real fight or just another hyped up spectacle? On one side, you have Joe Rogan, lifelong martial artist, UFC commentator, and one of the most respected voices in combat sports. On the other, you've got Jake Paul, the controversial YouTuber turned boxer, who has made a habit of proving doubters wrong in the ring. The age gap, the experience differences, and the sheer unpredictability of it all make this a wild matchup. But let's break it down. Who has the edge if these two stepped into the octagon? Joe Rogan isn't just the guy behind one of the biggest podcasts in the world. He's been immersed in martial arts for decades. Before he ever picked up a mic for the UFC, he was a legit competitor. At just 19, he won the US Open Championship in Taekwondo and became a 4-time Massachusetts full contact state champion. He even dabbled in amateur kickboxing before stepping away from competition due to concerns about long-term injuries. But his skills didn't stop there. Rogan is a high-level Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt under both Eddie Bravo, 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, and Jean-Jacques Machado. He's trained with elite fighters, understands the intricacies of grappling and striking, and has a deep knowledge of fight strategy. And let's not forget, his kicks are legendary. Fighters and coaches alike have praised the raw power behind his roundhouse kicks, and he's shown them off in viral clips time and time again. But here's the big question. At 56 years old, can he realistically go toe-to-toe with a 27-year-old professional athlete? That's where things get tricky. Jake Paul started as an internet personality, but at this point, you can't deny his evolution as a legitimate boxer.
Jake has went from a young man doing some crazy shit on camera to being really a lifestyle, a brand, starting businesses, helping boxers, helping female boxers, bringing more eyes to the sport, more money to the sport, changing the game.
What started as a novelty fight against Deji Olatunji in 2018 quickly turned into a serious career. He's taken down names like Nate Robinson, Ben Askren, Tyron Woodley, and even Anderson Silva. And despite a loss to Tommy Fury, he bounced back with wins over Nate Diaz, Andre August, Ryan Borland, and Mike Perry. Then came the biggest shocker, his 2024 unanimous decision win over Mike Tyson. Love him or hate him, Jake Paul has made himself a force in boxing.
Tyson requested the 2-minute rounds, wanting to see more action. He just landed the overhand right, testing the beard of Paul early.
But here's the thing, boxing is not MMA. In a UFC fight, you can't just rely on hands. Grappling, wrestling, clinch work, all of that changes the game completely. And while Jake has youth, athleticism, and knockout power on his side, he's never faced an opponent who could truly test him in those areas. If Joe Rogan could take him to the ground, would Jake even stand a chance? Jake Paul has shown that he's not just a YouTuber throwing hands. His knockout power is real. Over the past few years, he's developed a solid boxing foundation, and his right hand has turned the lights out on some legit names. He's got patience, setups, and knows how to find openings. But here's the problem. Boxing isn't MMA. And Joe Rogan? That man's kicks are terrifying. With a background in Taekwondo and decades of striking experience, Rogan's leg kicks are legendary. We're talking about kicks so powerful they could deaden an opponent's leg within a few rounds. If Rogan keeps Paul at range and hammers those legs early, it could be a long, painful night for Jake before he even gets the chance to land that big right hand. And let's not forget Rogan's understanding of angles and movement. He's studied, trained, and sparred with some of the best fighters in the world. While he may not have pro fight experience, his ability to read an opponent's game plan could give him a tactical edge in the stand-up exchanges. Having fun? Don't forget to subscribe for more. Now, let's talk about the part of the fight that would spell disaster for Jake Paul, the ground game. Jake has never been tested in MMA grappling. His entire combat sports career has been in boxing, where clinching is minimal and wrestling doesn't exist. Meanwhile, Rogan has a black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu under Jean-Jacques Machado and has trained with elite grapplers for decades. If Rogan gets this fight to the mat, it's a wrap. Whether it's a slick submission, a dominant top game, or just positional control, he'd put Paul in deep waters where his boxing skills would mean nothing. Paul might have size and youth, but grappling isn't something you just learn overnight. especially against a guy who's been rolling with killers for years. Here's where Jake Paul gets a big advantage. He's 27 years old and in his athletic prime, while Joe Rogan is 56. Now, Rogan is in phenomenal shape for his age. Seriously, the guy is shredded. But age catches up to everyone, no matter how fit they are. If this fight drags into the later rounds, Jake's superior endurance, speed, and recovery would start to take over. Even if Rogan dominates early with his skill and experience, fatigue could set in, and Paul might capitalize on that with his relentless pressure and heavy hands. Paul's conditioning and ability to absorb damage give him a major edge in a longer fight. For Rogan to win, he'd need to finish this fight early or control the pace carefully to avoid gassing out. His best bet would be to rely on his kicks and grappling expertise to neutralize Jake's boxing before it turns into a war of attrition. Rogan has spent his entire life breaking down fights, training with world-class athletes, and absorbing everything there is to know about martial arts. His fight IQ would be a massive weapon in this matchup, allowing him to anticipate moves, exploit weaknesses, and adapt quickly. His deep understanding of striking, grappling, and overall fight strategy gives him an edge that few can match. On the flip side, Jake Paul has a level of self-belief that can't be ignored. Love him or hate him, the guy has defied expectations and taken out experienced athletes who underestimated him. He's proven he can handle the pressure of big fights, and that confidence could push him to perform at his best. His power, athleticism, and relentless drive make him a dangerous opponent. While Rogan's experience is undeniable, Paul's youth, physicality, and hunger to prove himself could make this an intriguing showdown. If this were a straight boxing match, Jake Paul wins without question. But in an MMA fight, things get way more interesting. If Rogan executes the right game plan, keeping distance with leg kicks, mixing in grappling, and forcing Paul into unfamiliar territory, he could get the win. His best shot would be to take the fight to the ground early and look for a submission. But here's the wild card: age. At 56, Rogan is past his fighting prime. If Paul can survive the early storm, avoid the takedown, and drag the fight into later rounds, his youth, power, and cardio might be enough to take over and secure a TKO or decision victory. If this fight happened 10 or 20 years ago, Rogan would dominate. But in 2025, the odds lean toward Jake Paul, unless Rogan can capitalize on his skill set before Father Time catches up. No matter who wins, one thing's for sure: this would be one of the wildest crossover fights in combat sports history, and that's the breakdown. Who would come out on top? Joe Rogan with his elite martial arts experience, or Jake Paul with his youth and knockout power? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this breakdown was entertaining, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more fight analysis, matchups, and combat sports content. Hit the notification bell to stay updated on future videos. Thanks for watching. Until next time.